it is the control scheme. It is that bad. I've just been fighting with it. I played it for an hour last night. My hands cramped up, my wrist hurt, and I was playing 12 hours straight of Breath of the Wild with the gamepad, and I had no such issue. That should just go to show. It's a very confusing control scheme, and it's very disappointing. But I bought the game, so might as well finish it, and then I guess I'll fucking go back to Harry Potter and beat that one.
A great use of the game would be to give it to soldiers that have had their hands blown off, so they think, wow, I really don't miss my hands at all.
Yeah, it's... Jesus Christ, Liam. Right. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 39 of Podcast Reload. It's the general gaming podcast by Sifted.net subscribers, where we invite a community guest onto the show to talk about the games industry in all its weird ways. I am your host, Evan Piotrowski. Vin is not here today, so don't worry. We actually have filled 2 spots with 2 community guests this time. Today joining us is Liam, aka Tombriaders.
Hi, good to be on the show.
And Shane, aka CuriousConjurer.
Hey everyone.
So yes, Vin is, I think he's getting married. Still no excuse not to be on the show, but...
That's slacker.
But we filled a spot, which actually kind of works out because last episode we didn't have a guest on. It was just Vin and myself, so now we have 2. So Liam and Shane, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers.
All right, cool. So, as I crack a beer, no community corrections, updates, feedback. We're going to skip that and jump right into what we've all been playing this week. So we'll start off with Liam. Liam, what have you been playing?
Well, I haven't been playing much since the middle of April. I've been taking a small hiatus from gaming because I've been studying. And it sucks.
It sounds like it. It makes me feel old, by the way. Like, man, when did I graduate university? I remember those days.
Yeah.
But is this it? Is this your final year?
No, I've got one more year.
Oh, okay. Makes me feel even older.
Don't worry. This experience has aged me quite substantially. I'm quite sure.
Yeah, you picked a terrible time to be busy with academics because of all the awesome games that have come out this year. I mean, Q1 of 2017 has been quite the year already.
Yeah.
So when you finish studying, what are you looking to play? I guess we can change the question to that one.
Well, I know us gamers are known for having huge backlogs, but I am going to go back and I am going to finish Mass Effect Andromeda. Then I am going to go and finish Horizon Zero Dawn. Then I'm going to start playing Prey and finish that. Then I'm going to play Injustice 2 and finish that. I also want to go back and play Shadow of Mordor again, because I don't know if you know, but the Game of the Year edition has a separate trophy list, so that really gets my heart going. And a crap ton of indie games I need to play.
Sounds like you've thought this list out. Like, as you've been studying, you're just mentally, like, the other half of your brain is using all that energy to come up with the games list once you are free from testing. All right, so
it's
actually...
incredibly distracting.
I'm sure it must be, yeah. It must be. Okay, so speaking of Mass Effect Andromeda, I know you are probably the biggest Mass Effect fan that I know. And I remember you had probably brought it up on the show before a couple times, just in anticipation for the release of Andromeda. So
you mean I brought it up on the show before when you made me kill Mass Effect Andromeda?
Oh, that yeah. Actually, scratch that one off your list. You've made your choice. You can't go back on that.
Yeah, I'm technically not allowed to play it, but I have.
Well, your backlog is big enough that I'm sure crossing out one game on the list wouldn't make you feel so bad. But you are the biggest Mass Effect fan that I know. So I just wanted to ask you, from what you've played of Andromeda so far, like, how is it living up to to your fandom of the series? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm still very much a fan of the series. I still love the series, and quite frankly, I'm really sad about the reception the game has gotten. Even though I like add the caveat that I understand why it's received the reception it has received, because I've seen all of the crazy glitches and like really awful bugs that people have experienced in the game, and also there are a few sort of weird choices that they took with the game. But for me personally, I've had a great time playing the game, and I've experienced little to no bugs. Like I have had a great time, aside from a floating rock, which is just weird, and the multiplying Krogan. I've had a great time. In fact, I enjoyed that multiplying Krogan quite a bit. So
I'm glad that you're enjoying the game, and I'm a Mass Effect fan as well. Not to the degree that you are and a lot of other people are, but I am looking forward to getting back into that series at some point. So I think Andromeda will be like a bargain bin buy for me. But I will pick it up and I will play it at some point.
Seriously, people, it is a really fantastic game. Like I think so. It doesn't quite reach the heights of a lot of the previous moments in previous games, but it's a great load of fun, and I think it's definitely worth picking up in the summer when hopefully most of the bugs will be fixed, and it will be a really damn good experience. I think this game will age a lot better than this initial launch has made it seem.
Right. Just unfortunately, another reason not to buy a game at launch.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs in that regard, especially when publishers are hoping that people are going to pick up games for $59.99.
Yeah. So don't make the same mistake and buy the next Assassin's Creed at launch.
Right. Yeah. See where that one goes. But cool. All right. And moving on to Shane. So Shane, what have you been playing?
I have been playing Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment, the newest DLC campaign for the Shovel Knight game. It is actually, if you already own Shovel Knight, they kind of changed the whole thing around, so now it's called Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, and it's one big pack of Shovel Knight and all the expansions. You should be able to get Spectre of Torment for free if you already own it.
Right, so you're saying that if you purchased the original Shovel Knight, the Plague of Shadows DLC and the Spectre of Torment DLC are free additions to that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool they did that.
So they basically patched the whole game to become Treasure Trove, and now like Shovel Knight is actually called the Shovel Knight Shovel of Hope. And so when you start up the game, you can basically go in there and choose which character you want to play as. Kind of the weird thing though is if you get it as DLC, like Plague of Shadows before, it only has 2 trophies. But if you buy the game separately, it has a full trophy list, including a platinum, which was kind of weirded me out. But whatever. It's
we discussed this. Money. We discussed this before. I've never heard of one version not having a platinum, but if you buy it separately, you get the platinum. Is that incentive to purchase the game? Maybe. And if you want your platinum trophies, I know that Shane, you have quite a few. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Only if you're a true gamer do you buy
only
full edition.
Yeah. And I mean, if you already own Shovel Knight, that's great, but honestly, this game is worth tossing some extra money toward Yacht Club games, because I know, Evan, you and I had talked before. I didn't really like Plague of Shadows. Was not a fan. Didn't like the controls, the mechanics, of it.
It was really disappointing because the original Shovel Knight was just so pixel perfect of a platformer, and I think the kind of double jump mechanic they brought in with Plague Knight just did not work very well, especially in a game that requires pixel perfect platforming. So it was a bit of a disappointment for me as well. But Spectre Knight, Spectre of Shadows, not the case.
No, Spectre of Torment is Honestly, it doesn't.
Oh, did
feel
I
like
say
DLC.
Spectre of Shadows? Oh, Jesus, subtitles.
Yeah, you did.
I cannot get anything. And then now it's Shovel of Hope. I have no.
Yeah, I know.
There's no talk about hope. There's no hope for me ever getting all these subtitles right. Keep
There's
fucking
no
it
shovel
up.
of hope that you'll ever get these subtitles right.
There's no Shovel
the,
of Hope. So Spectre of Torment. Sorry,
Yes.
continue.
So, Spectre of Torment, it feels like a totally new game, like from the ground up. I mean, it's like they redid everything. You're still visiting like all the same stages and fighting all the same bosses for the most part, but they redesigned all the levels. There's some familiarity to them, but for the most part, they are like different areas of the same, level, so to speak.
Right. Well, they had to redesign it to complement Spectre Knight's traversal mechanics, right?
Yeah, which is much better than they were in Plague Knight's campaign. But yeah,
Plague Knight of Hope. Sorry.
Yeah. The no, you know what? The gameplay in this one is so much better. It's so good. It rivals Shovel Knight in my opinion. No questions asked.
Wow.
They did such a fantastic. It's a prequel to Shovel Knight, and it feels like a full game. And I think that they really did kind of go back and just take this one from the ground up. I don't know if they did that with Plague Knight. I'm not sure, but
Right.
yeah, if you're a Shovel Knight fan, don't be turned off by Plague Knight's campaign, because Spectre Knight's campaign is absolutely fantastic. It feels like a true sequel, or story-wise prequel, but you know what I mean. It feels like a true follow-up to Shovel Knight, and it is a worthy one. It's a really fantastic game.
Yeah, it's just really cool to see them kind of build on mechanics and come up with new ways to kind of new mechanics for what essentially is a 16-bit, side-scrolling platformer. It's they did that with Shovel Knight, and I guess it didn't really work with Plague Knight's DLC per se, but it's It's nice to hear that not only did they springboard off that and improve it, but it rivals the original game. I mean, that's great. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to seeing what Yacht Club does in the future, because Shovel Knight is just an amazing game, and now that I know that Spectre of Flashlight is free, I'm going to play it possibly later today, because I own the Wii U version of Shovel Knight. All right, so I guess moving on to me, what I've been playing. Finished up Breath of the Wild, and by finished up I mean I finally put it down, and I'm going to wait for the DLC to come out in the summer to pick it back up again. I finished all 120 shrines, and I clocked in at 103 hours. So finally I put my Wii down and been slugging through Lego Harry Potter. I think last episode I was up to year 4. Vin did a smarter thing where he was picking up and playing the game at about like half an hour at a time. Even that's too long. These games are so fucking boring. It's just like I've never been so bored playing a game. And I'm listening to podcasts and I'm still bored. Go to the new area, just shoot. It doesn't even make any sense. Like there's a part where you're in London about to go into the Leaky Cauldron, and there's just regular people walking around, and Harry Potter's just running around just like shooting people with your wand. It's like that never happened in the book. It goes against the rules. Like he would be expelled from school for doing that.
Hey, Harry Potter, guess what? You're not a wizard anymore.
Yeah, I wish, so I could stop playing this game. That would be awesome. It's like expelled. You remember when Hideo Kojima had an idea for a game that if you died once, like you couldn't play the game anymore? Like that was it. Like one life, one game. He had an idea, and Konami was like, we will never do that, because that's crazy. I wish that this game was that game, because if I got expelled from Hogwarts, good, I'm done with the game. But since I bought it and it was $12, and I already feel like I wasted my fucking money, like I kind of have to see the game through. So I'm on year 7, and we'll see what happens. And so since I played such a terrible game, I decided to pick up Star Fox Zero to make my life better. and my day a
What?
little. Yeah. No one's ever said that in the history of man. Since the dawn of video games. I've picked up Star Fox. Zero. Zero enjoyment. Yourself. Star Fox Zero. I hate this game. And Shane said it. Like after I played a couple levels, I'm like, this game fucking is terrible. And so I went back to the Game Face episode where Shane talked about Star Fox Zero, and he's right. The game's bad, and the main reason for this is the controls. It's basically, I'm not going to go into the specifics and what buttons do what, but it's basically two control schemes laid over one single controller, and then add in gyroscope aiming, and one camera that's third person, and one camera that's point of view. Does that sound like a fun time to you? It's terrible. It doesn't work. And it blows my mind. It's not even something you really have to think about. Just picking the game up and playing it, and you get to like level 2, and it's just like, this does not work at all. And I'm surprised, like I paused the game and I went to some reviews, and a couple people are like, just give it a while. You will get used to the controls. You will get good at it. I'm sorry, like I'm a planet before the last boss, and I have not gotten any better at that game. And
guess what, Evan?
What?
You don't get to be sorry. You gotta break your wrist to play that game properly.
Apparently so. At one point, I was almost facing 180 degrees away from my TV screen to try to aim at something. And, I'm not playing it right. Apparently I'm not, because I'm really, really bad at it. It's just, it's so frustrating because I don't understand how at Nintendo they were playing this game trying to fit, it's the Nintendo doctrine sometimes, some of the time, of fitting a gimmick, placing a gimmick higher than gameplay. So yeah, it's Star Fox Zero is a bad game, and you should not play it. Yep, that's all I got to say about that. Probably going to play a bit of it later today, unfortunately. But the quicker I can get it done, the less I ever have to. The quicker I can forget it. So yeah, we're starting a new thing, the Sifted Black Hole, or the Podcast Reload Black Hole, rather. I'm throwing 2 games in the black hole this week, and it pains me to throw any game in the black hole because I want to play good games. I want to have fun playing games. But Lego Harry Potter and Star Fox Zero are terrible games, and they're going in the black hole. But let's move on to something.
Wait! Can I throw 2 games in the black hole?
As long as it's not Skyward Sword, because we need to talk about that at a later point.
That one will come in time.
Okay. All right. What do you
think? I want to throw Resident Evil 6 in the black hole.
Okay, that goes in.
Yeah. Suck it, MG Novux. He's a member on Sifted, and he's going to have to deal with that.
All right, so that was a downer. That was a downer. I didn't mean to play terrible games this week. I unfortunately did. So moving on to better things. Let's dream. You guys want to dream?
Let's dream.
I want to dream.
Let's dream. All right. Moving on to our topics. Topic number 1. Liam, what is your topic for the show?
Well, I like that you say you want to dream, because I want to dream. My topic is all about dream game announcements. In the last few years, we have been spoiled, right?
Very much so.
We have.
Yep.
Last Guardian, Shenmue 3, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, all got announced in 1 year. And The Last Guardian actually came out. I mean, like, that's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we have like games that are freaking awesome on the horizon. We've got Marvel actually giving their properties to good games developers these days. We've got Star Wars games coming out in the future, and we've gotten more new IP than you could shake a stick at.
Yeah, lots of promise on the horizon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, we still haven't gotten any Valve games with a 3 in it, but you know.
All right, Liam, gonna put you in the space here. You're watching E3, right? Some developer comes on stage, and what's the game? What is your dream game announcement? What does he announce? He or she?
well, this would be very unlikely in and of itself, because Rockstar Games is never at E3, and probably never will be.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't
Since
have,
we are dreaming right now, I guess
Okay.
I can imagine Rockstar coming onto someone's stage and just saying, "Hey, I know you guys, you've been constantly tweeting at us. You want this game called Bully? Well, guess what? You can't have it, because you're going to give you Bully 2.
Oh, shit!
Nice.
Yep. So, like, I don't know. Have either of you guys played Bully?
Nope.
No, and actually, yeah, we try to we don't discuss the topics beforehand because we want everything to, the conversation to evolve naturally, and we weren't. I wish at least one, either Shane or myself, had played it, but I'm sorry, Liam, we have not played it.
I see.
But I do know that in terms of it's regarded as a classic PS2 game. I know a lot of gamers hold it near and dear to their hearts. So so Bully 2.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many reasons why the first game sort of slipped under the radar. I mean, one, it was a huge controversy because the game's called Bully, and parents and government people and anybody that didn't understand video games didn't like that. So, I mean, no parent would dare buy the game for their kids, and well, adults just thought, oh, it's a game about bullying. Who cares? I'm just
Yeah,
going to go back to playing Grand Theft Auto.
I guess it sounds mean-spirited, right? Bully.
It does.
Yeah.
And you would think that it would be a mean-spirited thing, really. But
it's not.
in actuality, it's a damn fine game. Like, in all of the same ways that Rockstar games of past and present are fantastic, Bully is too. I mean, it does so many awesome things, so many awesome gameplay designs, character designs. The game's hilarious in places. It's a load of fun. It tells a pretty good story. And the best thing about it is it's the same thing Rockstar does with everything. It's a great satire on real life. I mean, you play Grand Theft Auto 4, and it's a great story about immigrant coming abroad and hoping to get the American dream, but he doesn't get the American dream. Instead, he just falls back into his old crime ways, like just about any bad character does in the films, you know. And then Grand Theft Auto 5, which is like just this great satire on Los Angeles and its culture and everything that's wrong with it and everything that's funny and stupid about it. You know, they can poke fun at Los Angeles and also celebrate at the same time. And I think if they did a Bully 2 today, they would have a whole load of things they could satire. I mean, what would be more perfect than the way that college campuses are today? I mean,
jeez, no kidding.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff going on in college campuses today, and it's all ripe for being made fun of, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be a whole load of fun.
Okay, so Liam, this is actually interesting. So, where was Bully like a kind of a private high school?
Yeah. It was set in like a boarding or
like
private school.
Like a stuffy private / boarding school.
Yeah.
So you want
a private school called Bulworth.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is one of the funny things about the game is a lot of people didn't buy it or even care about it because in most European countries it had the name Canis Cadem Adet, which is quite funny. I mean, you're probably thinking, what? What did you just say? Could you repeat that? Oh yeah, Canis Cadem Adet. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's Latin for buy this game.
Yeah.
oh, Mom, I can't wait to play Campus Cadet Campus.
Yeah. Canis Cadem Adet. For some reason, they thought that would be a great title for the game to stop people that think that bullying is bad from buying the game, and instead thought, oh, I don't care about this game because I don't know what the name means. So who cares? I don't even read the back of the game to know that it has anything to do with school or whatever.
Right. So what you want to do is, for Bully 2, you want to move it from like a boarding school to a university.
Yeah, I mean, you totally
could. That'd be great. Yeah, I think you totally could. I mean, universities are kind of like a bubble, aren't they?
Yeah.
That could be poked and prodded.
Hopefully, a university full of very immature and silly and dumb people.
Oh, there's plenty of those people there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was
hard to
I
find.
was in my more formative years. I was one of those people from time to time. But oh no, that's a good one. I wish I played Bully so I had more to say about it, but it does sound
Yeah.
intriguing, and I'm sure you are not the only one, Liam, that would like to see
Oh yeah.
Bully
good
2
grief.
announced.
I can't believe they haven't announced this already. I mean, I hear someone is praising this game all the time. It seems like you would think it'd be one of those that they by now would have jumped out and been like, all right, we're going to go ahead and do this.
Yeah, you never know.
Well,
I mean,
here's one thing, right? If you're not sold by what I just told you, here's another little nugget, right? Since the PlayStation 2 game came out, this little thing called online multiplayer has become really popular.
yeah,
Do you know what you can do in online multiplayer? Well, you're going to be playing the game with a bunch of 14-year-olds, a bunch of trolls, right? They're going to be laughing at you and screaming at you. Well, why don't you just go up to them and give them a wedgie?
yeah.
Solve
my
all your
wedgies.
problems, and it will basically give you a lovely feeling that you didn't think you would ever experience with online trolls.
Yeah, throw them in the trash, toss them in a trash can, put their head in the toilet.
Yep.
Although that's more high school stuff than university, but
No, I mean, you could tweet at them too.
oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I'm sure there's a lot of people right with you that would love to hear Bully 2 as like a dream game announcement for them. All right, so switching over to Shane, what is one of your dream game announcements?
Oh, this one is one of those that is so much of a dream, it's ridiculous to even dream about, but every year I just want Square Enix to get up on stage at E3 and show some scenery from a game, not really sure quite what it is yet. There's some music in the background, and then the screen goes black, you see a pendulum swing, and you just hear the clock ticking. And I just want something Chrono Trigger. I don't even care what it is. I mean,
Oh, I thought that was the name of the game you wanted. Something Chrono
Chrono
Trigger.
Trigger.
If it's a new a game in the Chrono series, I'd take that title.
Yeah, and have you seen the way they name Kingdom Hearts games? I wouldn't
God,
put it
yeah.
past them.
No, right. Something
But
Chrono
no,
Trigger is better than most of the Kingdom Hearts game titles.
Yeah, no kidding. But no, I would. There's been fan projects. I know there was one several years back that tried to fully remake Chrono Trigger in 3D.
I did
and
see
instead
that.
of shutting them down, I just wish
Yeah.
Square Enix would have approached them and been like, "Hey, let's do this."
And I will say, I saw the screenshots of that. It was pretty impressive 3D artwork there, or 3D work.
yeah. Yeah, for a bunch of people who were just doing it as as fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. I would take it. I would take a sequel of some sort. I would like for it to be on a modern like powerful system like on PS4. I would prefer to not get like a 3DS sequel. I mean, I'd take it.
Right.
But as long as we're dreaming, let's dream big. Like, let's give us a full big 3D Chrono game of some sort. I would love that. That would just be awesome for me. And it would be like I was thinking about a few years ago. It was last year, or the year before. I don't remember when they did a little teaser video of a whole bunch of the things they were going to be releasing at E3, and some of them were big secrets. And they had a remix of Frog's theme from Chrono Trigger playing in the background. I'm like, what are you people doing?
It's very mean.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
talk about a troll.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, yeah. What do you expect from the people that released a teaser for the PC port of Final Fantasy VII when everyone clearly was waiting for the Final Fantasy VII remake?
Yeah. Oh, what a bad year. I felt bad for that guy on stage.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's where the infamous "Please be excited" came from.
Yeah. Please
But
be
that's
excited.
that's not his
Please.
fault. He basically literally translated what he would have said in Japanese. But
yeah.
forever in stone now. No, that's a good one. Being a fan of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, I liked Chrono Cross. Not quite the same though. But
No.
they could do a lot with the time travel. I mean, basically, it's they could do anything they wanted,
Yeah.
and they could come up with some really really cool places for Chrono or whoever to travel. I would love to see that. Being a fan of Chrono Trigger myself, that's a good one. All right, and
I think that's an absolutely ingenious pick. I mean, I think it's a Chrono tragedy that it hasn't happened already.
Oh God,
Chrono tragedy. There you go. There's the new title.
It's a Chrono tragedy.
Liam, it's the last podcast reload you'll ever be on.
You're at least not allowed to name things anymore. But
yeah, that's a good pick. It's a good pick. And my first dream game announcement would be Vanquish 2.
Oh my God.
Vanquish 1 is a sorely underrated gem of the Xbox 360 PS3 era, where it's ridiculous. It's got the type of ridiculous characters you'd come to expect from like a Japanese arcade game from the 90s and early 2000s, and you just kind of run around these awesome like metal high-tech areas as this dude who smokes cigarettes and is powering a super suit that lets him slide on his knees and stop time. And it's just a really, really fun third-person shooter. And one thing, it's like your chest-high wall cover shooter, but the whole slowing down time and travel by sliding on your knees, it made it so much fun. And the sound design was great. And the gun, like Liam, just I think you could back me up on this. Just when you shot robots and like just it really felt like you were shooting that gun. Like you could see the impact, and like pieces of the armor would fall off, and it really felt like you were destroying these robots piece by piece. It was just so cool. It was such a fun game. Utterly ridiculous. The plot was ridiculous. The characters were cheesy. The dialogue was bad, but the gameplay was solid, and it was really, really fun. And I would love to see a Vanquish 2. Never going to happen.
You are totally right. You are so correct. I mean, that game is so good. It's just crazy, the amount of things that they pushed on screen at one time. I mean, somebody could look at that game for just a second, and like when something crazy is happening, and it could be a work of art, like just metal grinding against metal and bullets and missiles going everywhere. It feels like a next generation game in a lot of ways, just when you look at it.
Yeah, it was and it was actually pretty difficult. I mean, there were some boss battles where if they charged up a beam and actually hit you with it, like you were done. And they just came up with some of like the coolest, like biggest like robots, and you'd be in this giant kind of circular area, and you'd be fighting off like smaller robots while you're battling this giant spider. And then you had troops with you as well, and they were kind of helping you in battle and stuff. It was just such a fun game. And I remember Kevin Van Ord, who used to work at GameSpot, he kind of tweets every now and then about Vanquish, like making sure it's like people like don't forget Vanquish. Vanquish was a thing. It should not be forgotten. But yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so let's do one more piece. How about that?
Okay.
And then we can move on to the next topic. But Liam, what is your next dream game? Then yeah.
Ooh. Well, I had two other games on this list, but I guess I'll only have to talk about one of them.
You can name both, but yeah, let's I guess talk about one just in, considering time.
Okay, well, I had Black and White 3 on my list, but
okay.
I'm gonna put that one to the side. Don't get me wrong, that's damn important. I wish I could talk about it, but I'll put that to one side and talk about something that's even more important.
Wait, Shane, have you played any Black and White games?
I have not.
Neither have I, so that was probably good that you put it to the side.
Well, you're not going to find out about
noted,
it today.
Okay, noted. Black and White 3, noted.
Absolutely. Yeah. Instead I'll say another game that neither of you probably haven't played either.
I hope I have.
I really hope one of you guys has, because that would make my day. Time Splitters. Time Splitters reboot, Time Splitters 4, Time Splitters anything.
Shane?
Nope, sorry.
Liam, we're sorry. Although I do remember Time Splitters coming out for PS2 and everyone kind of talking about how inventive it was. And it was like a kind of a fresh take on the first-person shooter at the time. I do remember that conversation.
Time Splitters is awesome. Time Splitters is hilarious. Time Splitters is ahead of its time. Time Splitters is just a whole metric ton of fun. It is so fun. It's a great couch co-op game, which there are not enough of these days. Like, and Time Splitters 4 had been in development hell for years, and it's never coming out. And I want them to go back and just reassess that franchise could still be really, really viable today, you know? Like, seriously, the game is so funny and so, like, just, it has so much personality to the point where it would offend everybody in at least one way. I mean, the game's dialogue and just the characters are basically stereotypes. They're stupid and they're hilarious. And, I mean, anybody that likes something like Borderlands or...
okay, all right, you got my attention. I'm with you now.
I mean, if they could recreate that in a modern gaming setting with better graphics, like better technology to just bring those characters' zaniness to life, they could turn the game into like a cross between Overwatch and let's say Borderlands, I guess, but just without the open world. I guess it would be like a more linear experience that you would have fun with playing with your buddies on couch co-op or online.
Okay.
You know, sort of bring back that cooperative campaign that has been missing from video games for far too long.
All right, that's a good one. Again, it's the same thing with Bully. I know there's a lot of people out there that are big fans of the Time Splitter series. I just passed me by. One of those strange ones that I never picked up. But I knew about, like Bully. I was there when it came out. I remember the conversations. I don't know what happened. I never picked it up. But that's a good one. All right, and then Shane, if you have two, I would say you can name both, but then go into detail about one of them.
All right. Well, I'll just name drop this one. There was something on Sifted a while back. We got news that a Bottle Rocket Entertainment was actually very far along in development of a video game of The Flash.
Ooh, okay.
I would love to see a Flash game come out, especially after playing with the neon powers in Infamous Second Son.
Oh, okay.
So I know it's possible, right? So
that's a game that's passed me by the way. I never played Second Son yet.
Oh, you never got around to that one, huh?
No, well, I just got my PS4 last November, so
yeah.
I haven't played. I do want to play. I've heard good things about that DLC or that side story.
Oh, yeah. The DLC is fantastic.
Okay, cool.
I'll
get around with that.
Before you play Infamous Second Son, like make sure you get a 4K TV and then play that game.
Oh,
yeah, well, I guess I'm waiting another year or so.
Yeah, I mean,
one day
it'll be there waiting for you.
One day. Yeah. All right, so the Flash.
But yeah, anyway, I'm going to keep this quick too. But the game, the other one that I had written down that I would really, really like to see, it could be on PSN, Xbox Live. It doesn't have to be a full retail release or anything. I love games that make me think, games that are intended to be puzzles. And I think that it's high time that Blizzard stop holding out on us and just give us The Lost Vikings 3.
Ooh, I love The Lost Vikings when I was a kid. Super Nintendo.
Yes. It has been long enough. I love those games.
It's great. It's I love the idea of like you have three people and each can only do a specific thing. Now they kind of tried that with The Cave. Do you remember The Cave?
I never played that.
It was.
I'm aware of it, but I haven't played it.
I think Tim Schafer's crew. He wasn't the director on it. I'm getting this totally wrong. It was a Double Fine game, or at least someone who used to be at Double Fine who made The Cave. But it was basically like 6 characters, and you had to pick 2 of them. But each character could only do specific things.
Oh, okay.
So basically, it was just like I mean, going back to The Lost Vikings, 3 people, each one can only do a specific thing, and you use that to figure out puzzles and switch between all 3 of them.
Yep.
Man, yeah, that was a good game.
Oh, what a great game. I miss games like that. This was back in an era when they could get away with games like that, I think, and I think it might be harder for them to pull off nowadays, but like I said, as a cheap $20 PSN release, they could do this again.
Yeah, and
No, I don't
there's
know.
been so many things that have been um, some new game mechanics and interesting stuff in the realm of like side-scrolling platformers or like a Metroidvania that they
Hmm.
could pick the bits and pieces that have evolved and since the Super Nintendo era or like the 90s and use that to make new puzzles in interesting ways. Yeah, I think that definitely has some potential there. Have you played Liam? Have you played The Lost Vikings?
I have not.
Okay.
I
It's
must admit, I've probably heard about this game like only a few times. Like to me, like you saying that is like really niche, and
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean,
it's
it's a good choice. Like,
it's
cause
definitely going
what
back there some years.
yeah, one of the things I like about every single game that we've like said so far is like all of them are a little bit niche in some ways, but like they have this chance that they could reach a far bigger audience than they initially had and actually be really viable, like in terms of sales. Like,
right. That's cool. That's a cool one. All right, and then wrapping up with me, uh, one game that I would love for them to announce is Resident Evil Revelations 3. Now, after Resident Evil 6, people might have said the Resident Evil franchise has lost its way. I'd say they picked it right back up and found what those games are all about with the Revelations kind of side series. Revelations 1, I really, really enjoyed, and Revelations 2 is even better. It put you on an island, like kind of run by this kind of unseen hand that was kind of pushing you along through this crazy funhouse of traps and enemies. And it had the perfect balance of like uneasiness, horror, but also gunplay. And an actually pretty decent story for Resident Evil standards, but also with a lot of cheesy dialogue. It just seemed like a proper evolution of the original Resident Evil, things that made Resident Evil as a series like fun and interesting. And I just wish they would do a Resident Evil Revelations 3 because I absolutely adored Revelations 2. And the other one that I would like to see is the next Yakuza game announced.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah. Okay, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Yakuza 6. Okay, great game. It's the first game that was developed solely for the PlayStation 4. So they built a brand new engine solely for this game. It's amazing. Now,
Nice.
they have this engine now. They've built it from the ground up. All they need to do is release a new game using the Dragon engine. I think it's called the Ryuga Gotoku engine. And I'd be happy, which kind of makes sense because you don't build an engine and then make one game. So the game is coming. I'm just kind of waiting for it. And I think as it's been heavily documented on this podcast, I am a massive Yakuza fan. Vin is. I can hear Vin rolling his eyes right now. But I'm not gonna. You know what? We've put a ban on the Yakuza series several episodes ago. It's not gotten any better. In fact, I think it's gotten worse. I've brought it up like every single episode, but it's only because it's so relevant. It's just Yakuza is just it's relevant to every conversation that we bring up. But yeah, I can't wait. I think there's something on Sifted that had actually the director of the Yakuza series was kind of talking about the next game and maybe possibly a new character, main character. So I'm waiting for that day because I will be so happy when that game comes out. I hope they make it a bit sillier. I think Yakuza 0 had a great balance between silly and serious, and I guess 6 did to some extent, but it's not as kind of off the wall as 0 was. But yeah, those two games. And then one more game, a new Dead Space game. I'd love to see a new Dead Space.
yes.
Yeah, I can get
just
behind that.
like you can even reboot it. I don't care, but I think the Dead Space series needs more games, and I actually liked 3 more than a lot of people did, but the ending was insanely ridiculous. I almost hope they reboot it because they kind of they wrote themselves into a corner there. Although in the DLC there was a cliffhanger that actually could be interesting. I don't want to give it away here, but it took the series in an interesting direction that the promise of what that game could be is actually like pretty pretty interesting. I would actually like to see that. But yeah, all good things. May all of our dreams
Evan.
come true. May all of them come true, right?
Evan,
I think
can I just say 3 things, like, real quick?
sure.
First, I need you to tell me about that Dead Space thing after the show, because I never played the DLC.
Will do.
And yes, Dead Space definitely should continue in some way or form. Secondly, is Yakuza 6 out in Europe and North America yet?
No, it's slated for early 2018.
Ah, see. You see, you've already played it.
Yeah, platinum it.
And
Love it.
I'm guessing it's fantastic.
I absolutely love it. Although, I'm a fan of the series as well. Like, I don't know how someone outside of the fandom would like it. Also, considering it's the 6th game in a series about a single character.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
There's a lot of baggage there. Like, it's basically, this game has been advertised as the bookend to Kazuma Kiryu's story. So if you just jumped into 6, like, so much would go over your head. I don't know how impactful a lot of, like, what goes on in the game would be, for you. So I would say play Yakuza 0, play Yakuza Kiwami, which is coming out in the States, in the Western territories this summer, which is a remake of Yakuza 1.
Oh,
and then maybe read up on 2 through 5. I don't know what you want to do, but you're skipping a lot of characters and a lot of story, and the end of 6 is kind of directly tied to the story arc of Kazuma Kiryu's character. So I don't know, it's a bit difficult. If someone played that game and was like, I don't get it, I would totally understand. Yeah.
My third point was, aside from all of that being very confusing,
sorry, I might edit that out of the podcast.
no, leave it in there because it's interestingly confusing. But other than that, I was going to say, like, your passion and interest in the series, like, makes me want to go and play Yakuza 0, like, and I think I will.
It's a great starting point.
Yeah, I think sometime during this year I will just try and go back and play Yakuza 0, because I kind of need a game like that right now.
It's great. It's there's so much memorable stuff in there, and it's there's nothing quite like it. I'll put it that way. But wrapping up, I think may all our dreams come true, and E3, it's like a month and a half away. I can't wait.
Yeah,
a month away actually, almost. So all right, all good choices. I'd say so. All right, moving on to topic number 2. So Shane, why don't you tell us what your topic of the show is?
I want to talk about what I call video game logic. And just to kind of set this up, several years ago, I think I was playing Uncharted 3. And got to this section where you go underground. I can't remember if you fall underground or something, but basically the walls start moving in on you. And as soon as this happened, I just immediately ran forward and tinkered with something on the wall and got myself out of there. Didn't really even think much about it. And my wife was watching me play, and she's like, "Have you played this before?" No, I haven't. "Oh, how did you know how to do this?" I'm like, I just turned to her and I looked at her and I shrugged, and I'm like, I don't know, video game logic, I guess. I've been playing games for 30 years. Sometimes you just know immediately what you have to do. So,
especially that with good games that present you the rules of the game and then telegraph those things very cleverly, and it's fair. Yeah.
And I think that a game can be good at, like you say, telegraphing, how to play, but then still be bad at setting up scenarios like this. Because, in that instance, that was supposed to be like a frightening, almost stressful scenario. But to me, I just walked right up and did it without even giving it much thought. So,
right. Maybe another character or another player died 2 times before they figured out what they needed to do, right?
Yeah, possibly. So I know. I was just curious if either of you had ever experienced anything like this, where I don't know, video game logic, you just do what to do, or you suspected, good or bad examples of.
want to say something like really interesting, like in its like most simple form. Like video games, like when you're like playing a video game and you're showing it to somebody who has never played who just has like relatively no video game experience and doesn't understand that when you're playing a video game and there's a cutscene going on, you're not actually playing the game because it's a cutscene. So I used to play God of War in front of my mum. I know that's quite a weird game to play in front of your mum with Kratos ripping off
that was quite a weird
sentence,
by the way.
Yeah.
I was playing God of War in front of my mom, as you do, right?
Yeah. As you do, yeah. My mum was watching me rip off like heads of things and blood and guts and everything, and she really enjoyed watching me play that game. But
that's also a weird sentence.
I'm sorry. Not your everyday sort of relationship with your mum.
That's good.
But she just couldn't get over the fact that I'm not playing the game when there's a cutscene going on. Like, right. It's a cutscene. She's telling me to go cut that guy's head off, and I'm like, I'm not controlling the game. This isn't the actual game, and I could not get her to understand that. Likewise, when I'm playing through the game and I'm, mashing buttons and trying to get combos and all of this stuff, she doesn't understand that I can't just go up to a guy and just cut off his head.
Right, right. Well, it's also really hard to explain. Like, just think of like the lingo that you use. It's like, oh no, well these are in-game assets, but it's a cutscene. Like, what are you talking about? Oh no, it's pre-rendered. I don't know what you're saying, right? It's
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of terminology that you build up just from playing games. But if you're outside that spectrum, it's like I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
yeah. But I don't know. Like
exactly.
moving back into the video game logic stuff. Yeah, I think you have this in the doc here, Shane. I would say one of the great examples of puzzles that are so simple, but yet so fun to figure out, just because the game does such a great job of explaining the rules of the game through the gameplay, and then telegraphing those rules so they give you an opportunity to figure them out for yourself. And a game that does this perfectly, I think, is Inside.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
that's so perfect.
It's so perfect, and I just remember one of the coolest puzzles that, not cool. It was just so neat that I figured out is I was on the first floor, and there was a second floor that I needed to get through, and there was a hole in the wooden floor and a ladder leaning to the left, and so I'm like, oh okay, so I needed to go to the right. So I climb up the ladder, and then I kind of want to do like a springboard jump off the ladder, right, onto the second floor, past the hole. So I jump off, and I miss it. And I was like, oh, okay. So basically, in any game, it's like, well, clearly that's not what you need to do, because the jump isn't long enough from the ladder to reach past the hole. But the way that Inside works with some of the more physics-based puzzle and the pushing and pulling, right? The game is basically you're pushing and pulling and jumping. That's like the three main things you do. I'm like, oh, all I have to do is grab the ladder and just flip it over to the right side and then climb up it. I don't have to jump. And it was so great. And that's what I did. I grabbed the ladder and I swung it over to the right side and then just climbed up it. And it was such, that sounds so boring, right? But it was so beautiful to see in a game where I got it right away, because the game taught me this is something that you can do in this game. And it took me less than a second to figure out, I tried one thing. Oh, I can't jump. Oh, I just flipped the ladder. Okay. And it was just great. And that game is littered with puzzles like that. I love it. I love that part.
There's another segment. There's a couple segments in that game that really stand out to me. One of them, kind of similar to what you were just saying, is there's the part where there's a part in the floor that's clearly can be broken. And you can see up above that there's something up above that maybe you could push down, right? To break through the floor. So you get up there, and I remember I'm pushing the box, because clearly I have to push this box off there. And sorry, anyone, spoilers, go play Inside. But you push this box off, to smash it through the floor. And I just remember right before I got it to go off, I realized that box was tied to the plank I was standing on. And so just like I hurried up and I just ran, and sure enough, the plank broke. And so if I'd have been standing there, I'd have fallen and died.
But but the game did such a great job of presenting to you the rules. Yeah, so you knew
it
within
teaches
that
you to
split
think
second.
like that.
Yeah. It's like in a movie, like the guy throws the anchor off the boat, and then you look down, and it's like vigorously like flying off the boat, but like half of it's like tied around his leg. You're like, oh shit, and you got to pull your foot out, right?
Yeah.
But like in game to realize that as it's happening, like that doesn't happen all the time.
No, there's this one section, and this is what cracks me up with this game is it sets you up to just watch your environment so carefully. And there's this one part of the game where you are traversing between two buildings. And I think that they are connected via like a wooden plank. Okay. I'm not quite sure, but there's a bird sitting on that wooden plank. All right, and as you approach, the bird flies away, and clearly the bird has like crapped on the wooden plank, and it looks wet. And all I could think was, if I walk across that, I'm gonna slip and die.
Right.
So I jumped over it. Now I still have no idea whether or not that would have actually killed me.
That's interesting. You didn't test it.
No, I didn't test it. The game just it trained me to think that's the sort of thing that could kill me, knowing the video game logic here, how this works.
Right.
So yeah, I have no idea if that actually was a trap, but I jumped over it. I think I'm gonna try to figure that one out later today. I'm curious.
I
go ahead,
love
Liam.
that you brought up Inside. Like, I think it's the perfect game, like, for that.
Can we just talk about Inside for like 10 minutes?
Yeah, we probably could.
It's my game of the year last year, hands down.
Yeah, a fantastic game.
Yeah. I was thinking about the sequence. I think it's quite close to the beginning of the game where you basically fall down into somewhere and you have to like jump over this like small little plank wall. And when you jump down from there, like a bunch of dogs come around the corner and like chase after you, right?
Oh yeah.
And then you jump back over. A normal person would go over to the other side and start pulling at the planks on the other side to try and get through quickly because dogs. I'm scared. But as a gamer, it's like I'm not going to be able to pull those planks off in time. So
there's clearly not enough time. The game is telling you there's not enough time.
Yeah, exactly, and you just know it. So you go over the other side, and then the dogs come over that side. Then you jump over the other side, and you get enough time to pull some planks off, and you do it again. And it's just so brilliant.
But it's like the way that area is set up, like it telegraphs all that for you. If you pay attention and you look enough, and I think what I love about it is it still feels like an accomplishment. Like my experience, like that thing with Uncharted, like I didn't feel like I accomplished anything. It was just so obvious. Or a lot of times
it's like basically like areas like cliff ledges that are like highlighted in yellow.
Yeah,
it might as well be an arrow. Like, and I know they're trying to implement into the game to make it seem natural, but you know exactly where you're going. You're not going to fall off.
But like, there'll be times like in Uncharted, or even sometimes like in Assassin's Creed games where you can be climbing on an area and see like a drain pipe or a pole of some sort, and just like, oh well, as soon as I jump on that, it's gonna bend or it's gonna fall, And to me, that's not rewarding, But the way Inside is set up, each little section is set up that just like if you are paying attention and you are like looking at every detail, and the game telegraphs everything for you. But to still be able to get through it, to recognize that and to get through it is just so rewarding to me. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, I'll just briefly talk about Breath of the Wild, and I'm sure you guys might have heard some of this stuff, but some of the how to get the Korok seeds in the game, it's just the most... It basically kind of preys upon human tendencies to just visibly draw your eye to something, and you kind of turn your head a bit like, oh, what's going on over there? Like, they do such a great job, and there's nothing in the game is telling you to do any of this. So you'll be walking, and then off in the distance, you'll see a circle of rocks, but one rock is missing. But the rock that's missing is visible just like maybe like a couple meters away. I mean, what in that situation, what do? You go to the rock that's not in place, pick it up and put it back to finish the circle.
Yeah.
Just something that you do. And then all of a sudden you're rewarded. Like the first time you do it, it's like, oh, that's not right. Get the rock, put it in place. And then a Korok comes out like, oh, hey, how's it going? You finished it. Here's a Korok seed. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. It's exactly what I expected to do. Or there's like a hole. You're on the top of a cliff and you look down like there's a hole. And then close to you, there's a boulder. I'm like, I'm going to push that boulder in that hole because it feels good. That sounded a bit, sorry. It's a euphemism for something. So you push the boulder and it rolls down and goes in the hole, and then, you get a Korok seed for it. So there's just things like that. Like it makes sense to do it. And the game doesn't tell you about it. You figure it out yourself immediately. So it's just really, really clever. And it's so simple, but it feels good when you do it.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of video game logic setup that I love, when you're presented with something and you can kind of look at it and know what you're supposed to do, as opposed to being able to look at something and it's like, oh, well, I know that this is going to happen. It seems like such a subtle difference, but to me, I don't know, I don't know. I notice a difference in how games present that to you, and like, to me, Inside, Limbo 2 before it, but I think they nailed this with Inside, is like that entire game is just it thrives on this sort of thinking. And I don't know, I love it. That's I love being able to be presented with something and know, because the game has done a good job teaching me, and just know what it is that I have to do or something like that, so.
Yeah, it's good. So kind of wrapping this up, Liam, do you have any games other than Inside that kind of shout out to you in terms of like very clever game logic?
I can think of one that jumps out to me. Dark Souls, like pretty much any Souls game. Like,
okay,
there's so many instances where you just, I don't know, you've just sort of trained your mind over the years, like, to know when there's going to be an ambush, and to like look at everything and know, oh, I should probably lure that enemy out so I don't have to take on all of those enemies at the same time. So you whip out your bow and arrow and you draw that one out, and it makes later on in the game a little bit easier, and like that. Just so many things. I mean, there's so many traps and little things in Dark Souls that.
Well, it's kind of like you're walking around. You're like, it's a little too quiet. Something's up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Dark Souls is perfect at that, and especially because it's like such an open game. It just has so many little things in it, that little challenges for you to overcome.
Right. Man, this episode should be called like episode 39 : Liam talks about 10 games that neither Shane or Evan has played. Actually, Shane, have you played Dark Souls? Say you played Dark Souls.
I have not.
But we've all played Inside.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We have that at least. We'll always have Inside.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
we'll
Inside
Inside.
is the best.
The answer is inside you and me and all of us. All right. No, I think that's a good one. I've never played Dark Souls, but I mean, yeah, that seems like, and you talk about the fan base and that, they definitely talk about how the game teaches you as you go on, and you just get to a point where you've played the game so much that when you get to a new area, the rules of the game, and you can draw out enemies here, or like this path will wrap around to here, and all this stuff. They can kind of figure it out because they've played it for so long. I wish I liked those games. I don't know if I can get into them, but no, it's good stuff. Video game logic, when it's done right, it's the best thing ever. All right, so coming up to the end of the show, I'd like to say a massive thank you to both Liam and Shane. Guys, thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again.
All right, so
Loads of fun.
Good. Yeah, we'll definitely both have you on again, seeing as how like 5 people are interested in coming on the show at this point. But that's fine by me. Like it's good. I like having reoccurring guests, and we can get past the old, introducing each other for the first time and just kind of get straight to the games. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. We would definitely love to have more people on the show, especially new people. If anyone is on the fence about coming on Podcast Reload, just try it. I've had plenty of people that actually were on the fence, finally threw their hat in, and had a great time. I mean, we do a pre-show recording. I guess our recording today, we talked for 2 hours before we even did the podcast. Sometimes we do a post recording. I know it's like 5 o'clock in the morning or something by Liam, so we might not do that this time. But anyone, any guest, new or old, if you want to come on the show, please message me on Sifted at the stand user, or just the stand user, no at. Send me a message on Sifted, or you can reach us on Twitter at podcast_reload. Just send me some information on where you are in the world, your mic, and when you are available to record, and we will definitely get you on the show. So, coming up to the end of the show, let's wrap it up. Starting with Liam, any Twitter handles, plugs, anything of the sort?
No plugs for today, but okay. I mean, if you're a person listening to this podcast and you haven't checked out sifted.net, do it. It's a ton of fun, and it's a totally new way to look at your gaming news and interact with people. That's just so different from other places on the internet. It's totally worth just basically looking at it, sort of sorting out your curiosity, because it's totally worth it. Maybe it'll get you hooked.
Yep.
Okay, good. And I think, Shane, since you were last on the podcast, you actually do have some stuff to plug, so why don't you go and do that now?
Yeah, I do. Of course, you can always find me at CuriousConjurer on Twitter and Sifted.net. Come join me in the Indie Gamer crew. I'm trying to get people talking in there again. But going back to what Evan said, if you're on the fence, get off the fence and be on the podcast, because since the last 2 times I was on the podcast, I decided that I liked it so much that I started my own podcast.
Which is great, which is awesome, by the way. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I do credit, being able to be on here and just realizing how much I liked it. And so if you want to check out the other podcast I am on every Wednesday, you can find that the podcast is called Words of Geekdom, and it is where myself and 2 friends, we sit down and we talk about geeky news, geeky hobbies, and being geeky parents. So you can find that on SoundCloud, iTunes. You can check us out on Facebook over at facebook.com/wordsofgeekdom.
Awesome. And as for me, you can find me at the stand user on Sifted Giant Bomb and Twitter. And on Twitter, you can catch some of my finger paintings. I'm just kidding. I'm not Vin Hill. I don't draw for a living. But yeah, any one of those things. So that is it. That'll do it for episode 39 of Podcast Reload. So everyone, again, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time. Goodbye.
All right. Bye. Bye.